Alrighty, good afternoon, folks. Hope you guys can hear me. This is Jaeden Zero here, back with another quick movie review. This one is the remake of Stephen King's It. So I'm just gonna dive right into the story real quick and talk about a little extra tidbits um, that are coming right up, or we're gonna talk about additionally. You gotta choose my words. So it is pretty much a story about a killer clown from another dimension, and it's just stalking these kids every 27 years, or it stalks the fictional town of Derry, Maine, for 27 years, or every 27 years, and it goes into hibernation. And the real interesting thing about this is that this has been adapted, I think, twice, and of course it's originally based on the book, and then at the same time there's some other little tidbits and another additional movie that pretty much I think it borrows some of its concepts, and I'm gonna pretty much tell you what movie that is. But the good thing is that I never saw the original It growing up. I always heard that it was creepy, and I already didn't like clowns anyway, so I didn't have that fear of clowns like most people who saw this movie and got really really petrified. The good thing is that I'm not really afraid of clowns that much anymore. Of course, because you have the Joker and a little bit of Jigsaw, who has a little bit of a clown looking face. But pretty much it goes a little bit with the story. It's an entity that preys on people's fears, and whatever Pennywise is, it takes on many different forms, and it really is like an OP, overpowered thing. It does connect with some of the other Stephen King stories, and I'm also gonna get into that as well. Hopefully, I remember to going off the top of my head. But pretty much, it just looks and knows what you're afraid of, and it sees that fear, and it it literally takes form. So, like for example, one of the kids in the movie, he was afraid of some lady in a painting, and I'm pointing that one out because that one was the creepiest one. Just physically looking at it, and even the way they had shot it, it looked kind of disordered anyway. So, it one person is afraid of the guilt of their parents dying. One was afraid of what was it? I think their woman, the chick, I can't remember her name now, Beverly. She was afraid of pretty much, becoming a woman. And I think in the story it's implied that either her dad, of course, possibly abused her, or could have molested her. And it goes a little bit into chapter two. And that's another additional thing. This movie's actual title is really It Chapter One, and it reveals that at the very end. I guess for promotional reasons, they didn't want to sound too cliche, because I think of course, the whole promotion and then the fear of it was promoting it, yeah, with the kids, because when you're like a kid, it's easier, to market and scare. I think children in horror movies, they really do sell a fear factor because they're supposed to be so innocent. But I liked how this was darker than the original one. I did see the original one eventually, and thanks to the nostalgia critic, he had kind of mocked and made fun of it, and it really wasn't that scary looking at it. And even got into a debate with a Facebook friend, because she was saying that the original one was better. And this one I'm about to say is going to be controversial, but at the same time, it goes with the Dark Knight parable that I'm going to use when I review that. It was good for the era and the time that it came out. The original It movie, it came out in the 90s. It was that 90s horror, a little bit of campiness, really wasn't that scary looking at it now. It was right for its time period. This is what the 2020s, if you want to call it that. And with most horror movies, why they're probably not scary to me or anyone else, is because they rely on sound a little bit too much. Loud sounds will pretty much tell you when to be afraid. And I think in another YouTuber had pretty much said the same thing. It's not really scary, you know. Playing a loud sound, at the right time can be scary, but some people do it just to be heard. And when I review I Am Legend, I'm going to give why that brilliance did scare a couple of people the first time they had saw it. But I'm talking about it right now, so I'm jumping off topic. And of course, the guy that had played the original Pennywise, Tim Curry, I seen him act before seeing that movie, so he is a pretty funny dude. And then seeing him in the original, I was like, yeah, this shit ain't scary. It's more comedic, like what the nostalgia critic said. He's he's playing on of course, it's playing on the children's fear of it's a clown. It seems more like a prank or something versus trying to be serious with it. But technically, this is going a little bit deeper into the story. So the entity, I really believe. Well, it's been stated that, okay, if you've seen or even read the Dark Tower series, which is also by Stephen King, all of his stories really connect. And I think this goes in even with the It and the remake itself, because the major difference with this remake is that the original story, I think even in the book and the movie as well, it takes place in the 50s, and then the second part, when all the kids are adults to fight it again, it takes place in the 80s. And this one, it's the 80s, and then I think it's going to take place in a regular time period, or today's time period. And I can't wait to see that, because I heard rumors that James McAvoy has been cast in the movie, I think as Bill, and he's a very good actor. And of course, if you've seen him in Glass, which isn't out yet, and the other movie, Split, I heard about his good chops in that. I personally liked him in Wanted and X-Men, which I'm also going to review, and I think The Last King of Scotland. I only saw a couple clips of him in that, but back to this, pretty much, I lost my train of thought. That really blows. Now I have to sit here and think for about 2 seconds what the hell I was gonna say. Oh yeah, all the stories pretty much connect. A good example, the Tommyknockers, which I'm reading right now. One of the characters, he mentioned going through the town of Derry and vaguely seeing Pennywise, and also in the Dark Tower, the Pennywise carnival appears in the movie, and then of course it connects with the mist as well. Like one of the creatures that attacks Jake in that movie, and also it's probably in the book, it's probably one of the creatures from the mist. And I know exactly what I was going to say. How it went back to the whole time period thing that I was saying. With the time period, I bet you it all connects back to the Dark Tower as well. Since it's different portals and different worlds, it's probably different time periods as well. So I think the same It entity in the remake, or alleged remake, is the same one here. It just takes more of a monstrous form. So it could be a little bit of a fourth wall break, to scare the audience, but that's just my theory on it. If you look it up, the inner universe of Stephen King, they break it down online all the way around. Like, it connects with the Shawshank Redemption, the Green Mile, the Shining, even some of the The Last Stand. A lot of Stephen King's books, of course with the movies you couldn't really do it. Misery, it was just unbelievable, how really pieced and connected every single story is. So, it went beyond the whole horror, science fiction, and went to the dramatic stuff as well. So going a little bit more of the technical side a little bit, I believe Victor Salva, and I'm not going to speak on him that much because of the whole controversy surrounding him. I think with the whole hibernation and time of 27 years, I think that's how he got the concept for Jeepers Creepers a little bit, because it's the same thing every 23 years. This demonic entity comes out to feed on fear, but the difference with that, of course, it smells if you're afraid. It doesn't show an illusion of something that you're afraid of. It's pretty much try to intimidate you, to know what it wants from you in Jeepers Creepers. So, when I was, hearing that concept in the movie, and it reminded me of that. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounded like something he had lifted from there. And what else? The movie really deals with a lot of. It's not just the physical fear of the monster, but it's really you overcoming your fear. And it's probably one of the reasons why, in the story itself, the adults can't see this thing because technically they are afraid of something, but it's not enough for it, to go after. And what YouTubers had said about Pennywise, and even in the book, it salts up the meat. They can go after he can go after adults, but you know, pretty much is not a. I don't think it's a thrilling game, and it's a little bit harder for him. That's why he goes after children, and then of course there's even a deleted scene, or altered scene, or I heard rumors they might put it in there where he eats a baby because that was easy prey, and then with them being afraid again, and once they got lost after they defeated it, and then it kind of came back to get them, they indirectly, it was a kind of a reverse gangbang train that Beverly gave to all the boys to get over her fear of of her womanhood. And the more and more I thought about it, how controversial it could have been, I realized a lot of people, especially ones living in the hood or in these how can I say it, not just the hood, but in these somewhat isolated areas, we all have hit it up with a chick, or at least a girl that somebody else had been up in. I think that's the reality that Stephen King was trying to paint. Of course, it's controversial now. The MPA won't allow that. You can get away with it in books, but that's as far as it's gonna go. So, because even I was shocked. I was like, because it's a personal preference. Dealing with me, it's just something that I wouldn't do. But when I thought about it, I was like, yeah, because I heard at least from like two other people it happened with them as well. So as nasty as it may be, when you get an adult and you be older, you learn a little bit better. So that's something. Last I'm gonna talk about that. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I give the movie a 7. It's just the fact that it didn't really scare me. I understand the fear of you facing certain things that you don't like, or it's really about yourself. And like I said, it's not that easy for this thing to come after you, if it is real. But I will say that there is a couple shots in here I did like when Bill goes down in the basement and sees Georgie, and then Pennywise, he just comes shaking out of the water. I will say that was a cool looking effect and shot. And since I'm writing a comic book, I was writing some of my nightmare scenes from one of my characters. That was one of the inspirations I got from that. But other than that, it was funny how people were exaggerating and being afraid of this thing. And I guess it's because I've seen so many horror movies, and I've been at a morgue and seen dead bodies and stuff like that. I guess it really doesn't faze me that much. So they usually say the scariest monsters are the ones you do create in your head versus a situation someone puts you in. If to me, and this is just my opinion, if you can deal with the monsters in your head, you can definitely deal with a certain scenario. Now, if it's life or death, that's completely different. That is our ultimate test. But I'm not saying go jump off a building with no parachute. Yeah, but that's just pretty much my whole opinion on it. And yeah, you'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. You'll float too. Pennywise here. Just want to let you know I'm gonna be taking over the videos from now on. So every time you hear him speak, it's gonna be me. Until next time. Ha ha.